Hello, Pardot Trailblazers. Just as we kick off, my dog is deciding to bark, so I apologize for any canine background noise that you hear. But I'm so excited to kick off Part Dreaming Day 2. I'm Andrea Terrell, the CEO and founder of Sercante, and I'm excited to get started with things today. So a couple of quick announcements before we dive into the main attraction here. Today is Nonprofit and Higher Ed Day, so our .org track today consists of a few of the sessions that you see here on the screen. Lots of great content, lots of great speakers, so definitely be sure to check those out when you're looking over the agenda. We also have one event that was rescheduled. So today we're having a networking event with our friends at FeedOtter today at 3 p.m. Eastern. So if you're looking at automating, pushing your RSS feed to Pardot, they're the people who make that magic happen. So definitely make time to check that one out too. The Genius Bar is still open. As a reminder, these are one-to-one consults with Pardot experts. And we've included a couple of categories to help you get routed to the right person. So if you have a burning Pardot question, want to screen share and kind of get into how you're building something, Genius Bar sessions are a great place to walk through that and get a second set of eyes on what you're building. Today is also our Bird of a Feather Roundtable Day. I'm really excited about this because it's a content format that we've never tried before, but we're trying to mimic the Birds of a Feather Roundtables from in-person Dreamforce. And the concept is basically we're getting a bunch of people together in a room with similar interests and then using Zoom's breakout room feature to enable small group discussions and then bringing everybody back to kind of debrief on some of the discussion questions that we're going to be putting out there. So this will not be your usual one-way webinar style content. It's going to be very interactive. So if you want to experience kind of this new content format, check it out, and we would love to hear any feedback on this after the event. The most exciting event of the day, our VIP after party, is tonight. The big event here is going to be crowning the winners of our first ever Pardreamy Awards. So we have 4 categories and then a best of show winner that we're excited to announce and walk through some really awesome use cases of what people are doing with Pardot. We're also doing a costume party, knowing that it's Halloween in the US this weekend. So if the mood strikes, feel free to wear a costume. We're going to have some fun prizes for folks that decide to participate in that. There's still time to sign up for a VIP ticket if you haven't already. And we have an awesome swag kit to mail out to folks that register for the event. We have an action-packed schedule today. As always, full agenda you can check out in the event platform. And one other event that I want to call your attention to is we're hosting a migration panel today at noon. So if you're currently not a Pardot customer looking at switching to Pardot or maybe moving other divisions of your business onto Pardot, this is going to be a really great panel to attend. So we have a couple of speakers from organizations who have recently migrated from other platforms or who have done org merges. And so they're going to be sharing tips and tricks, lessons learned from as folks who have gone through this process very recently. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce today's speaker. Jenni Laine is joining us all the way from Finland. So it's 5 o'clock at the end of her day here today. So we're really excited to have her here. But she's going to be speaking more about Kalmar's journey towards digital transformation and how they onboarded Pardot, and basically just sort of a look behind the scenes at how they're thinking about marketing automation. One of the things that makes me really excited about this session is, as in-house marketers, we often don't get a chance to look behind the curtain of how other organizations are approaching things, and seeing kind of just soup to nuts how everything's working, the good, the bad, the ugly, is a very, very rare opportunity. So Jenni is going to be walking us through Kalmar's journey, and I'm really excited to have her here. Jenni, thanks for being here.
Hi, thank you, Andrea, and hello, Pardot world. It's so nice to meet you. And greetings from Arctic Finland. I'm sitting here at our headquarters in Helsinki, and as Andrea said, it's 5 p.m. already, and this presentation is the final and most important thing on my agenda today. So my name is Jenni Laine, and I'm super excited and proud to represent my company Kalmar and our great marketing team here. Today, I'm going to talk about digital transformation and more specifically about the Kalmar marketing automation journey so far and how I've firsthand seen our competencies unleashed during the past almost 3 years. This was called the beginner track keynote, and it's a perfect fit for us as I and our Kalmar team are by no means the most advanced Pardot users yet. We are on a good path and really growing our experiences and skills as we speak. And today I'm going to keep it on a fairly basic level. So I'm not going to cover all the details of our operations, but please feel free to connect with me and ask any questions at the end of my presentation or later on. Here's my agenda for today. So I'm going to first introduce myself and Kalmar for those who are maybe not so familiar with us. I'm going to share you our background and our journey. I'm going to walk you through 5 steps that have been influencing our success so far. And then I will wrap up and give you a chance to ask some questions. Sounds good? All right, so let's start with the introductions. This is me on one slide. You can see my motto here, anything is possible. Not very unique, I admit, but what I want to say with that is that I'm an optimist, and for me, this is the mindset and attitude that has really helped me along my career and in all the transitions in my life so far. It's also been amazing to have the opportunity to work in marketing in this time when the development has been so impactful. And when I think forwards to 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, literally, I can't imagine the possibilities in the future. And I definitely feel that anything is possible in terms of change. So what I currently do, I work for Kalmar as marketing operations manager. That means that I centrally support all our divisions and regions in digital marketing. I'm responsible for our online marketing platforms and work as an internal consultant and owner of Pardot. I manage our websites, analytics, search engine stuff, and overall provide campaign support and try to develop our processes. When not working, I spend my time with my family. Working out is really my fuel. We love riding our bikes in the summer, skiing in the winter, and started swimming again. And as you can see in the picture, I have 2 crazy dogs and they need their share of exercise. So that's what I'm doing as much as possible. And this is really my first time speaking to a larger online audience. And also the first time speaking at all for many months. So I have to say it's an important milestone for me and really a pleasure to be here. And I also took this as an opportunity to make like a throwback at my career so far. As I've seen it, us marketing professionals, we come from all walks of life. And at least to me, it's always interesting to hear the stories. So bear with me, I will get to Pardot very soon. And while thinking back, it occurred to me that in 1994, when I started my professional career, my first proper job at a bank, my job was to update their CRM. And I also learned to use Microsoft Word mail merge to create labels and personalized letters. Anyone else remember mail merge? Well, so after 27 years, I'm still kind of doing the same stuff, on some days at least. So although I just mentioned that there's been a lot of development, some things haven't really changed that much. The second realization I made was that in my career, in fact, it has been following the same path as marketing transformation in the whole, from arts to science and technology. So I studied at the Theatre Academy in Helsinki originally and worked as a freelance dancer and teacher. And as dancers often do, I needed to have side jobs just to get by. So this went on until 2001. That was the turning point in my career. I had 2 children and decided that perhaps the office job was indeed a more sustainable option than dancing, and have since then built my career in marketing in different industries, mostly B2B manufacturing companies. So here you can see some of the brands I've had the pleasure of working with. And in 2019, I joined Kalmar and also got my my introductions to Salesforce world and started using Pardot. So 27 years of learning by doing, growing up. And by the way, these 2 girls in the picture are today adults living on their own already. So time really flies. So now that you know me a little bit, let me introduce Kalmar. Here is Kalmar on one slide. Kalmar is part of Cargotec. We are about 5,500 people. operations in about 30 countries. And Kalmar provides cargo handling solutions and services to ports, terminals, distribution centers, and heavy industry. And we have a global service network with over 1,500 service professionals in 120 countries. We think of ourselves as the industry forerunner, our efficiency, safety, and automation. And I would say, speaking very subjectively, that also in marketing, we are often considered the benchmark in our rather traditional industry. And I like this slide. I like it a lot. It gives a concrete feeling of an idea of our business. So we have estimated that 1 in 4 container movements around the world is handled by a Kalmar solution. So we are really keeping things moving. And as I mentioned, Kalmar Marketing has been as ambitious as the company itself. And we have been on a transformation journey for many years already. And also our starting point has been a bit like shooting into the woods with a cannon. So we see that we have been a brochure factory. We have been super focused on product marketing, product features, and just pushing out what the product development has been able to produce. And we have been working on quite an ad hoc basis, a little bit disconnected from the sales, depending on the region, and building the brand, of course, thankfully, but remaining in this quite reactive mode without really efficient tools or centralized processes to build on. So this is the starting point. So what our team set out to do, and I'm really not here to take the credit for it, but this started with my colleagues before I already joined the company. So the idea was to move from product marketing to this multi-channel customer experience development, from standalone touchpoints to connected touchpoints, from mass advertising, printed advertising, to really targeted customer communication, from intuition to proactive data-driven marketing, driving business value and working closely with the sales. Does this journey sound familiar to anyone else? Perhaps? Let me revisit the milestones still from 2018 onwards. So 2018 officially started the transformation towards digital and sales-driven marketing, and Kalmar selected Pardot as the marketing automation tool. And we have built everything and structured everything else around Pardot since then. 2019, that was our year of implementation and building the base for Pardot. I started literally with training myself first. I admit I had not used Pardot previously. And then after that, we followed up with training the central marketing team members. After we were clear with the basics, we set out to plan and launch our first marketing campaigns with Pardot. And that we just basically transformed most of the existing activities to Pardot. Newsletters, event communications, drip campaigns, things like that. 2020, we realized that our website was in need of an update, and we updated the website and also the lead process associated to that. Of course, everyone remembers last year, the pandemic situation. We reacted fast. All our exhibitions and events were cancelled overnight, and we put all our focus into digital marketing. And I'm so happy we had already invested in our good setup so that we were able to react fast. And one of the things we did, we relaunched our webinar series, which has been a success. And we actually managed to get all the divisions into this continuous campaign mode by the end of the year. We also took major steps in our automation rollout, and we trained over 120 marketing and salespeople during that year. This year, we've been focusing on setting up common global KPIs for marketing and building a common dashboard. And in short, we are in a continuous optimization and development mode now. So that was our journey in brief. And now I would like to speak to especially those of you who are maybe just beginning this journey or are not so far with Pardot yet. So I've divided this journey into 5 important steps that I'm going to walk you through now by asking 5 important questions. First question: how to select the most suitable tools and set up for your marketing operations? There is definitely no right or wrong answers to this. There are plenty of great options out there. In fact, perhaps too many good options. So it's kind of mind-blowing what is out there. Therefore, I think it's really nice to share and benchmark with other companies, and I'm also willing to share openly of what our team is using. So this is our setup. These are our 4 most central tools that we use in our daily operations. This works for us at the moment. Let's see what the future brings. So, of course, first of all, Pardot Salesforce. This is a good fit for a B2B company, and it was a natural choice for us as sales is using Salesforce already. Episerver CMS, one of the top content management systems out there for website management. We have connected Pardot there. We are using Pardot form handlers and API to keep that connection. GoToWebinar is our webinar tool. They provide an out-of-the-box integration to Pardot, and it's super easy and fast to implement. Then we have our digital asset management system, QBank. This is easily integrated to Episerver, and we try to have all our assets in that one place. And of course, the Google tools used for advertising, analytics, and also our daily collaboration. This is the baseline of how we work. All right, we're up to question 2. How to build the base? How to build the process to create engaging content for the different phases of the customer journey. And this is a critical stage in the operations, and there are lots of details that need to be considered. Although a few of us had some experience with marketing automation tools, and as an organization, we really started from scratch. So starting from the definition of what is marketing operations, what is Pardot, we started to speak and lobby about marketing automation in every possible forum. We realized that most of us in sales and marketing, there were so many questions around the topic, and we really needed those sessions to clarify what we were getting into. Then, as I mentioned, we started training the core central marketing team, and I think this is one of the steps where there are no shortcuts. So every software is different, and the better you structure your training program and materials, the easier it is to onboard people initially and also going forward. So there are many modules, even for the basic user to learn. So starting from how to create a campaign, an email, a landing page, a form, a custom redirect link, a report. So some important learning points there that I would consider even more closely if I would have to start again from the beginning would be how to set up, for example, the naming convention for assets, how to build the campaign hierarchy, how to build the folder structure, and also what kind of templates do we need, how many do we need, you can imagine. Those are critical things that then they build up and multiply the wins or the challenges with time. Then, when we had reached this basic level, we started implementing these simple use cases. And as I mentioned, we tried different things and to learn what works best for us and our customers. And most importantly, these use cases and campaigns meant that we started building project teams. We started committing people to the campaign process, and this has definitely been one of the keys to closer collaboration with sales and also other functions, to really sit down in the same table and have the roles and together build the understanding of what we're going to do. Alongside the Pardot basics, we wanted to immediately build the connection with our website, as I mentioned, and this required quite a bit of planning, analytics, and development. And naturally, in addition to the website, we also wanted to connect all our other channels to Pardot. So in order to be in this nice position to connect all our Kalmar channels. And I like this slide. It shows the impact and really what I mentioned earlier, moving from standalone touchpoints to connected touchpoints. So we try whatever we do, make sure that it's connected and trackable and visible in Pardot and Salesforce. So this is my testimonial for today, that Pardot really is at the heart of our operations and enables valuable tracking of the customer's behavior in Kalmar digital channels. So how do we work? This is our basic campaign process, broken down to about 7 stages. So first, we of course define the campaign, the targets, target group, key messages, sounds simple, but it's not always. A few times, once or twice, we have learned down the road that it wasn't actually clear to everyone what we set out to produce, or we forgot to discuss some important details that then turn out to have a major impact at a later stage, and we lose time, we lose the impact. So really make sure that everyone's on board, document it well, and have the commitment from all the teams at this start of the campaign. When the definitions are done, we set out to create the campaign assets. And this can be anything from emails to landing pages to social media assets, videos, webinars, whatever is needed. Then it's really important to define the lead responsible team so that when the campaign starts working, there's no more time wasted discussing about who assigning and reassigning. And so we really know who's there waiting to grab those leads as they come. Then, of course, informing all the relevant teams about the campaign and sharing the materials internally before it's launched so that there are no surprises, that everyone is on board before the customers are receiving the information. Then, of course, building and launching the campaign in all the channels. That is very important. And then we start hopefully receiving tons of leads, and we are able to forward those to the sales, and we can monitor, we can optimize during the process already. And in the end, in between and in the end, it's important to review the campaign results and the leads and the whole debriefing session with the whole team. And this is really something we are trying to really push and underline, that it's so important to share the successes and the lessons learned, because that's the only way we can improve and we can prevent from having to reinvent the wheel and having to waste time doing the same mistakes again. So yeah, 7 critical stages to the campaign. And as I mentioned about the assets, we also have defined a basic lean campaign model. And this is related, and because we all like to be creative, so especially in marketing, so it's good to have some kind of a standard format for a campaign that is tried and tested. And for us, it looks something like this. So that if we have we have to react quickly to something, this is then we have the go-to plan already available, and we don't have to think too much if it's a basic setup. So basically, the basic campaign model contains 2 to 3 rounds of emails to our existing customers, and then we use the social media and Google to complement this and to reach also our potential customers. These both streams are leading to the same landing page that has all the content needed and the clear call to action. And often it's just a simple contact us form. So it depends how we are able to define that, or a download something. And again, we start receiving those leads, we assign them to the sales, and we optimize, and we have the debriefing, we try to learn and make it even better for the next round. All right, we're up to step number 3. How to scale up and focus on what works in your marketing. Scaling up, and this is again learning by doing at its best, but really it should be to put the focus on what works best for you based on your data and also the possible customer feedback, and not just what the team likes to do or is used to doing. So for us, this has meant that, for example, a shift from pure email marketing towards a more multi-channel approach, from standalone use cases to trying to build bigger marketing programs. For example, webinars, we quickly noticed that webinars are one of the most valuable tools for lead generation, providing the best results. And we scaled up from 1 webinar per quarter to about 10 webinars per quarter. So if you're not doing webinars yet, I warmly recommend you to start practicing. Related to other campaigns, I showed you our basic setup, but scaling that up, there is a lot of things you can build on. For example, adding personalization, making the nurturing paths and programs longer, more refined, developing the lead process in the background. So lots of things. Yeah, there are no limits there. Then related to training, there are probably always new people joining the team, or ones who have not yet received the basic training. And then the people in the team with the basic knowledge, they have to be lifted regularly to the more advanced levels, and so on. So this is also a continuous process, and I think would demand quite a bit of resources during the whole time. Yeah. And what I can't stress enough is to keep sharing the findings, successes, lessons learned, no matter how small they are always small building blocks to that even more perfect execution. So there. Okay, step number 4, question number 4, how to collaborate and align marketing and sales processes and KPIs. Collaboration within marketing and within marketing and with sales and other functions is of course crucial. But on this slide, I'm more focusing on actually to the management of Pardot, and I think it's really important to find the most suitable balance between in-house and outsourced competence. Our team has remained almost the same throughout this journey, and we have chosen to work closely with partners. We are buying support and guidance, both technical and strategic. And new competence is definitely a requirement for everyone in the team, and it's also a huge opportunity. And we've really, I think we've been great at that. Everyone has had the right attitude and mindset to learn the new tools and new processes. So definite, really good high five for everyone in our team. In this table, I have outlined how we split the work on a high level. So in-house, we need, of course, to have the ownership and the ownership of the development. That's really important. That's not something you can outsource. We also do a lot of content creation in-house. We build the campaigns, the basic execution is often done in-house just as long as we have the time. And of course, we have to make sure the reporting is thoroughly understood and prepared by us for the team, so that we own that data. Then what we like to outsource is more the technical support, development requiring coding, things like that. We also use consultants for analytics support, for search engine optimization, search engine marketing. This is something that I think does require some special focus and skills. So if you only have a limited amount of time in a month to use for that, I strongly recommend to use someone with that special focus and skill set to really prepare the recommendations and findings for you regularly. And as we are scaling up, we are also relying on our partner more on the campaign building and according to need. So playing with this balance, I think, is a constant work. And then we also have this thing called Pardot User Days within that, where we invite our partners and all our users to sit down with us for some hours, sharing experiences, looking at Pardot special features, maybe inviting some external speaker to benchmark, and it's super fun, and just giving it that special moment regularly to really share and just focus on Pardot. So I think I found that really nice way to collaborate with the colleagues. I've mentioned reporting and KPIs a couple of times, and I know every company seems to have really fancy dashboards and really looking at complex attribution models and things like that. But I would like to share with you a simple way before you are there. This is just a dummy example of how we've put together campaign results before having when it's a more manual job, when it's a simple task. So if you don't have yet that fancy dashboard that is giving you everything in real time, this is the kind of a manual funnel view that we've used. So here we can on the top, we have the total cost of the campaign. Then we have the awareness, how many people we've managed to reach, how many clicks we've been able to get on our, and the things, the headlines on the left side, they can be anything, of course, and depending on the campaign and the call to actions in the campaign. But this is an example. The engagement is how many downloads they've done, how many form fills we have, and so on. And then, of course, then the conversion. How many leads did we get? How many leads were converted to contacts? And eventually, how many opportunities did that turn out to? So in this way, it's a simple thing. You can manually fill it out, and then you can compare campaign to campaign. So it's like apples to apples, even if the campaigns are quite different. Okay, we're coming towards the end of my steps here and question. My step number 5 is the one of continuous development and optimization. And I'm not going to draw this out in much more detail, but this requires building on all the levels that we've covered so far and keeping in mind my motto, anything is possible. So we're aiming high, we have to do our homework, and make our marketing automation with Pardot take us that next step again. So the journey definitely continues for Kalmar, and our customers are in the online channels, and we need to be there to support their journeys. We need to understand their journeys. We need to be there every step of their way. This relationship building is definitely a continuous process, and marketing and sales need to work together closer than ever before. And most of all, Pardot is our common tool, and our customer data is the starting point of everything. So Salesforce, that's our path, and that's the way we will continue building on. Oh, thanks for your time. I really look forward to connecting with you all and getting some questions and connecting with you. And unfortunately, the VIP after party is after midnight for me, so I won't be able to join this year, but I'll be sure to check many of the presentations and the updates coming online. So, Andrea, are there any questions for me?
There are tons of questions, lots of awesome questions in the chat. So if anyone in the audience has any additional questions for Jenni, please drop those in the chat. Thank you for doing that walkthrough. It was really helpful to just kind of see top to bottom, soup to nuts, how you kind of rolled this out and how you think about Pardot and marketing automation strategy, because there is no like how it's made breakdown for marketers. Like it's so rare to have that kind of a look behind the scenes of an organization. So I really appreciate you taking us through how you guys are doing things at Kalmar. So I'm just going to dive in with a few questions of my own and a few questions that I've been seeing in the chat. I guess the first question that I have for you, so you've had a very impressive career journey, kind of going from accidental admin, experimenting with mail merge and Word, to now rolling out a global marketing program and being the keynote speaker at a global Pardot conference. Is there any advice that you would give to your younger self about how to build a career with Pardot and Salesforce and build a career in the ecosystem?
Wow, that is a difficult question, but I guess it's just like, don't assume anything and try to be present, try to listen, and really focus on listening and taking in what is needed, both internally, both with the be open. That's the simple things like that, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Sarah in the chat had a question about about getting buy-in from internal teams. When you rolled out Pardot, was that something you had to face, kind of convincing other teams to come on this journey with you?
Well, no, I wouldn't say I really had to convince. I think that our team was that we made the decision in a collaborative manner, thanks to the good leadership we have in the team. So everyone was on board by the time the tool was selected. So I didn't really have to do that kind of internal sales. So I think we had the motivation and commitment to the work. Definitely. So it's of course it's a tough job next to everything else you're required to do, and requires that extra bit of concentration. So it's been, I would say, quite demanding as well for many. So thanks so much to all my colleagues. If you're anyone's out there online, so high five.
That's awesome that you guys had that type of alignment from the get-go, because oftentimes you don't see that, and it definitely makes it a lot easier and more enjoyable for all involved if the team's all kind of rowing in the same direction. Um, one number that jumped out to me from your presentation was that you went from doing 4 webinars in 1 year to 25 webinars the next year, and I would be willing to bet that that number is going to probably keep growing. How do you think about building things in a way that will scale? Is scalability something you should be thinking about from day one, or something that you should revisit after you've done it a couple of times and have a couple of wins under your belt?
Yeah, we've tried to have that principle that we pay for things once and try to build that blueprint for a certain kind of action, and then that means that we are able to replicate that and scale up. So that's definitely always the goal. So we try not to do things one off, but always having the mindset that how can we then build on this, and how can we have the blueprint and share it and replicate it and localize it there, and then so yeah, that's really important, I think, especially with small amounts of resources and small yeah.
Yeah, someone had a great question that related to that around how you typically personalize and nurture in campaigns. So, is there a standard, like, do you templatize your programs? Do you have a standard playbook for personalization, or is that approached on kind of more of a case by case basis?
It's very case by case, and I have to admit we are on our learning journey there quite strongly. So we've done super simple personalization things so far. So if anyone has good benchmarks on this, I would love to um, chat about that more. So just basically things like if you're landing on the front page, or getting that newsletter, that it's a little bit more personal than the ones we had before. So it's really basic at the moment.
Yeah, it's a journey. Everyone has to start somewhere, and
Yep.
we grow from there. Um, so it's been almost 2 years since Kalmar implemented, or maybe just slightly over 2 years since Kalmar implemented Pardot. Um, could you tell us a little bit more about that evaluation process? Why you chose Pardot, and some of the things that you looked at when evaluating platforms?
Yeah, as I mentioned, that we already had invested in Salesforce earlier, so that was the starting point. And I guess then you have the choice between Marketing Cloud and Pardot, and of course, ideally, I would have want to have both, but then that's often not possible. There are good features in both, and then we really it came down to what are the main targets and what are our and we and I guess we concluded that lead generation is the main thing we want to be able to do, and as being in the B2B context, that seems to us like the most user friendly and easy choice. So, but for sure, we spend a lot of time um, looking at the features, thinking what is possible with what, and in the end, I don't think we had any other options really.
Gotcha. We talked a little bit about kind of scaling your webinars. There's a question in the chat about the content of your webinars and kind of how you structure those. Do those tend to be product related? Are they educational content? How do you go about choosing your topics and the content for your webinar series?
Yeah, good question. As I mentioned in the beginning, we have the three main themes: eco-efficiency and automation and safety. So often we try and build around those themes mostly. Then, of course, we also have really practical how-to kind of webinars, and then we have um, global big topics. We have local, small, really targeted webinars. We have tried more like panel discussions, and it's a really big variety, I think. And my my goal has been that whatever we do, whatever content we produce, let's try and make a webinar out of it. So it's really, if there's an article, okay, let's if somebody's going to speak at a conference, let's turn that into a webinar, reutilizing a lot of the material that is produced anyhow. So you can always think of how this would turn out. I have to admit that I think we are experiencing some sort of webinar fatigue. So I think we need to push a little bit again to get those numbers up. So last year was really that we did such a great job there, and now we need to kind of keep growing on that.
I love the idea of just reusing and remixing, recycling content that you've already developed, because like building it the first time is the hardest part. And then once you have some kind of content asset, thinking about, okay, how can we turn this into a blog post, or where else can we use this, is a really great way to get more value out of the content that you're pulling out of your subject matter expertise.
Yeah. And this is also the great place to work with the sales, because they get that input from the customers, and then they're even better at making up the good content ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a question in the chat that's a little brass tacks, but I'd love to get your thoughts on it. So, naming conventions, ideas on like how to structure folders, naming conventions, kind of going back to our theme of scalability, like kind of coming up with a system for this is something that's frequently overlooked. Do you have any recommendations around naming and taxonomy in a par.org?
I have the experience only of one way of doing this, our way currently. So I would be really interested in if there are other ways, but we have, as you know, there are no preview thumbnails, for examples of images or assets. So you really have to count on your asset name to be findable. So we have done this by starting off with the date. So then we can always scroll by the date, and that makes sense for us. However, our names turn out quite long, and sometimes Pardot cuts that off in a in the annoying place, so that we don't see the ending, which might be the unique identifier for that asset. So I would consider how maybe if keeping the names as short as possible still, whilst wanting to have all those different let's say tags in your name to keep it findable. But I'm sorry, I don't have really good advice on this, but having the experience of one way, I would love to find out if there are some best practices out there.
Well, I think your practice of including the date is a great one, because yeah, to your point, like we don't get to see it, so having something visible and being able to sort and search, like that's a huge thing for sure.
Yeah.
We have a question in the chat about from Christine about marketing as a one person team. Do you have any general tips for either teams of one or very small teams that are trying to implement a big program like this?
Yeah, I would love to go back to our slide about in-house outsourcing. So I would definitely pick a good partner that you're able to build that cooperation with, because I would imagining just being by myself, I would really need that good partner to work on the different things, because you will just run out of hands if you try to do everything by yourself. So hopefully you are able to get a good partner on board, have a long-term relationship with them, so that you both learn and build the Pardot on a long-term basis, I would say.
How do you generally think about like what type of tasks you want to handle in-house versus what you want to bring on a partner for? Do you have any perspective on that?
Well, I think the only critical thing to keep in-house is the ownership and the development roadmap. So that's what you can't outsource, but you can outsource basically almost everything else. So of course, it's nice to be able to do in-house work as well. I think it gives you that freedom and variety in your work to kind of be there, not just planning, but also doing hands-on stuff. But then when you're scaling up, it might be that you just kind of have to let it go more and have someone else do the basic implementations.
1 minute left, and we have several other really great questions that I don't think we're gonna be able to get to them all. But the one last question I wanted to ask you is thinking about what's next for you. Are there any trends, products, developments in the marketing space that you're really excited about, or like milestones you're hoping to hit in 2022?
Wow, so many things actually. As I mentioned, I think our journey has just begun. So I'm really looking forward to upgrading our Pardot to the next, our license to the next level, getting some more features from that. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, those are of course very trendy topics, but I really need to now take some time and get myself more on board with those, because I think that is the future, and something if I don't now start learning and preparing, the train will go and we will have missed it. So those are on my bucket list at the moment.
Well, Jenni, thank you so much for taking the time today. This was an amazing session. Lots of questions and notes that I'm going to be thinking through and digesting coming out of our conversation here today. So appreciate you joining, and everyone, please enjoy the rest of the conference. I look forward to seeing you in the next round of sessions.
Thanks a lot, Andrea, and have a great time at Power Dreaming.